Another week in the books. We made it through the Sports Cage. Welcome. Thanks to Nelson Homes, our sponsor. On Friday, 3 hours with you. It's Barney Shynkaruk, it's Colson, it's Curtis, and two special co-hosts with me. Introduce you to them in a moment. We'll run down what we got going on for you. Farhan, Lalji will start with us in about 8 minutes time here. We'll talk some Knox, some CFL with Farhan. GM of the Regina Pats, Alan Millar, joins us from Winnipeg. He's scouting. Obviously, we're going to talk about the Regina Pats winning the draft lottery yesterday, which comes with one Maddox Schultz. Can we just be honest? Can we just say that Maddox Schultz is now a Regina Pat? Hour two, SJHL report. Head coach of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins, will join us. Hour three, champion, general manager from the Prairie Junior Hockey League champs in Fort Knox, Jarrod Williams. Talked with Benny Walchuk. We'll hear from that. And then WHL fans from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, Berkly, Catton. We'll play an interview there that we had with him on the Monday nooner. Great kid, lighten up the league into round two with his Spokane Chiefs. That starts, I think they start on Sunday. So that's the show today. You're always welcome to chime in. 306-936-6262. The Prairie Land Rentals text line. You're looking for a lawnmower, a leaf blower, anything like that, the Husqvarna promo is on right now. 600 Albert Street. You get to deal with the owner. They've been in business since 1986. Prairie Land Rental text line. Get in on it. All right, I said I have a couple of co-host with me today. Greg from Piffles podcast. You've been on here now. This is old hat for you. Thanks for coming back. You got the beautiful TV in the background. We're watching the Masters. We're taking it all in. How's it going?
It's going. I don't think there's been a two-man invasion like this since Kevin Nash and Scott Hall were on Monday Nitro, but
we need Alan and Maz here. Let's get the wrestling talk. And then Alex from the Piffles podcast is with us as well. How are you? We literally just met 25 minutes ago.
I walked in the door and that was the first time we've ever actually said hello or shaken hands or anything. It was fun. It's good.
So the story, you have your cans with you, and I'm like, oh, Alex brought headphones and a can of tuna. I'm like, what is going? But it wasn't tuna.
No, it wasn't tuna. It was water chestnuts. And you might be listening, but Mark Johnston, host on the morning show for Play 92, does not like them.
Okay.
But he now has a can of them at his desk.
I'm glad it wasn't tuna, because then I'm like, oh, what's going to go on here? This is just going to get weird. No. He's going to start cracking tuna in the studio. Thanks, guys, for coming on. Local guys, your podcast is great. Piffles podcast, it's great, because I'm a podcaster too, right? It's great to get kind of three doing podcast in our basement guys all together on the radio. No, it's fun. First off, let's go to you, Greg, before we go to break and get far in. I got to ask you, yesterday Regina Pats win the draft lottery. Your initial thoughts?
I don't have season tickets, but if I was a season ticket holder and seeing that Chancellor, they're getting Maddox Schultz, and they're probably ticket prices are probably going to see a slight increase. I don't know how I could financially recover from this. Good for the Pats. It's going to be great for them, but if I was a season ticket holder, I'd be right now checking my 401ks in the stock market, making sure I can afford this.
What's your take?
First initial reaction was, this is a good thing for Regina Pats hockey.
Yeah.
After Connor Bedard, and we saw the buzz that was here with him, you get this next phenom, and he's from here. We love our local kids here in Saskatchewan, especially in Regina, and to have Maddox Schultz potentially be that number one pick. I mean, we can come out and say it. He's probably going to be that number one pick. It's exciting for the Pats. So they need to do something to get people back in, Greg, as you alluded to, the ticket prices. But if you're going to, look to bring people in, you do that with stars.
Here's the thing. What about going the other way and saying, you know what, he can play 34 games next year, right? The next year is when he's here full time. So he can play 34 games up until his AAA U18, AAA midget team is done, which is probably going to be the Pat Canadians. It just makes sense. What if the Pats go the other way and say, we're going to make it more affordable. We're going to make sure every single game is sold out and packed.
That's the best way to sell anything, is you give them a free taste and then you get them hooked. So yeah, that would be smart on the Pats, but
It's like the Costco. It's like the Costco.
Exactly,
people.
the free samples. Yeah.
Yeah. Sucked me into like, I don't even know what this soup is.
I didn't want to eat falafel, but here I am. Now I'm buying a giant bag of it.
Yeah.
But the fact remains is very rarely in today's sporting environment do you see prices get clawed back. You'll see it in bits and pieces. Like they'll do, okay, now we have a family fun zone, $100, whatever. I would love to see it. I just don't hold my breath because money makes the world go round, and especially when you're running a sports team isn't cheap.
No.
Ultimately, you got to get people in the stands. Lower the ticket prices just a little bit, get people in there, get them spending money on merchandise, get them spending money on concessions, make your money there too. Just get people in there. Get people in there. How many family and friends are going to be there?
T-shirts, sweatpants. We're a big pajama pants city. Maddox Schultz pajama pants, everything. Here's one. You know that back end, the top back end? I remember talking to the Regina Pats guys, and I'm like, here's a couple ideas on like the weekday games. You know, weekday games, it's tough to get people to go out. Maddox Schultz was born in 2010. What about you sell weekday games, all those seats in the back, $20.10 plus service fees.
I love it.
Great idea. Simple to do.
Get people there.
Yeah.
Get them in.
Butts and seats. That's all you need.
And then you're going to get, like I said, you're going to get them for 34 games. Which games you're going to get them for probably going to depend on schedule and all that. Really looking forward to talking to Alan Millar. And I think he's going to play the card that, we're not going to say what we're doing and who it is. It's like, Al, someone just handed you a big bag of money. You're taking it. We're going. The marketing dollars, like you think, I was talking on the show yesterday, and I was always like, if Edmonton gets that pick, it'll be a king's ransom. They're going to listen, but because you think of what happened with Bedard and the selling out of arenas and just that hype, and I'm like, Edmonton might not move them. So now it's the Pats. There's the butts in seats thing. There's the corporate angle, and then the merchandise. Mm-hmm. And it is going to be so cool. I don't know if have you guys ever talked to the Schultz family, the son or the dad or anything?
No, we're football guys.
They're salt of the earth. Like, they are such good people that this is all going to come pretty quick in the next couple of years in your home city. Man, what car dealership jumps on? Like all these sort of things, the Maddox Schultz train.
Oh, he's going to be a marketing... Unless something happens, he is going to be a marketing boom for anyone who attaches him in this city, and that's if he becomes what people think he's going to become.
I think they're close. I don't know if the Schultzes will ever pay for a meal at Western Pizza again. Sponsor of the Pats, it's just hand in hand. You get whatever number Maddox is going to go. The new pizza on the menu is the Maddox Schultz. It's Spiro, call me, but we'll be golfing next week. We'll talk then. Okay, Farhan Lalji is going to be standing by momentarily. We'll get to him. Let's go to a quick break. It is the Sports Cage. It's Alex, it's Greg, it's Colson, it's Curtis. Whole crew here on this Friday for Nelson Holmes and on 620 CKRM. Farhan Lalji is in his automobile joining us on Friday. What do you got going on with the kids today?
Well, they're just training. They had track workout earlier. Now they're in the gym right now with a friend of mine. So my 13-year-old daughter's just slowly starting to get into this training world. So it has its moments, but fun nonetheless to play dad and kind of watch them go through it.
Do you ever give them the old dad training tricks, like different things that we would have done back in our day that's like obsolete? Like you really got to hit that pec deck.
Yeah. Yeah, the pec deck. No, like they're so far ahead of me. Like my son at 16 is like a mile ahead of where I ever was at any point in time. So I can give him the odd bit of football advice, training advice. I just got to drive.
Yeah. Oh, and the diets that these kids run nowadays. And
yeah.
I'm like my son's starting to be like, no, it's a little late. I shouldn't have that. And I'm like, what? Man, you would never survive in the early 90s, bud. It was like,
no, I know. And my wife is a dessert. My wife is a dessert fiend. So when the kids actually don't want it, she gets really upset. Like she actually gets mad at them if they don't want treats. So
any kind of rioting, any kind of groups gathering now that the Canucks are officially out of the playoffs there?
Oh, cheap shot, Barney. No, fortunately, no one in Vancouver is going to see this until I post it. No rioting, but certainly a level of angst and frustration because this team's won these last two games on the road against two pretty impressive teams, and you beat Dallas, who's a Stanley Cup contender, with a record-setting final minute, and then you are full value for a 4-1 win in Colorado, and they've swept the Avalanche this season. So there's certainly a lot of hand-wringing and a lot of finger-pointing. What went wrong? Who's to blame? All of that stuff right now. Patrick Alvin, the general manager, had an article today with Ian McIntyre, and you talked about some issues surrounding Rick Tocchet, Elias Pettersson, what their expectations are for him in terms of training. Like there's just a lot of it out there because when you win games like this, and there is that there's no award, right, for winning meaningless games, and the Canucks are certainly doing that right now. But it does lead people to believe that hey, maybe this team didn't need to be this far away. Maybe they were closer than we think, but I'm not sure that's the case.
If there was different silos or different boxes to check off, would it be like character issue, drama in the locker room issue, injuries? Like which one or ones would you check off?
Yeah, I think all of those are a legitimate part of it, right? When you look at the injuries that this team didn't have a year ago, right? It was incredible. Like all of their top players played 82 games until Thatcher Demko got injured at the end of the year. Now this year, all of their top players missed significant time at various points, including Thatcher Demko. So injuries are a part of it, but at the same time, Elias Pettersson, when healthy, just hasn't been Elias Pettersson, right? Like they needed more from him. So when you're looking at specific players, he certainly gets looked at. Some people will criticize the system that's led to a real lack of offense. Certainly the locker room drama. This team looks so disengaged and disinterested until after the JT Millar trade. Now there's people in that room that really like JT Millar, but clearly the locker room dynamic wasn't working, right? Like this team, it wasn't there. It was a mess, and that affected everybody. So it took a lot of that to get cleared up before this team started playing better.
So now you've got, like, the team looked disinterested. What's the team going to look next year? You already got Brock Boeser talking to the media about how he doesn't see himself back next year. So what does this team look like?
Brock Boeser in all likelihood isn't going to be back, and it's unfortunate. His value took a bit of a hit, right, in and around the trade deadline, and then he's played better in the last 2 weeks, and he's been scoring again, so that's certainly raised his value elsewhere. But I think he understands that this is probably it, and the Canucks are going to look to spend their money elsewhere. When they made the Millar trade, it really had a ripple effect, right, in terms of where this franchise was and what needs to happen going forward, because this team had depth down the middle. Now they got nothing down the middle, right? Like you lose Millar, and you don't know what you're going to get next year from Elias Pettersson, so you got to spend money to improve that area, and that's such a much more difficult area to improve than potentially improving on the wings. So, ultimately Boeser's season will probably look okay from a production standpoint, but really it's been so inconsistent and at critical times it wasn't there. So they're just not going to wind up paying him $7-8 million. If all of a sudden the market dictates that the Canucks can get him for 6 or 6 something, maybe they go there, but they're going to have to, it's weird how the season began with a team that was deep down the middle and really, really not deep at all on the back end. Now, as the season's progressed, they've gotten better on the back end, and they're nowhere down the middle. Nobody could have predicted this at this point.
Now, Farhan, we talk about the locker room issues. Losing a guy like Brock Boeser, who's the longest tenured tenured player for the Canucks. How does that affect the locker room?
Well, look, it'll have some effect. He's very well liked by everybody in the room. And when you have a divided room and you have a guy that's well liked by everybody, that's a valuable commodity. But you don't pay $7 million for, locker room kumbaya, or $8 million or whatever Boeser's going to wind up getting. So that's tough. But look, this core has done nothing, right? Like, we talked about what the core was with Hughes and Millar and Pettersson and Boeser, and at one point Horvat and certainly Demko. Well, that core never amounted to anything, right? Other than getting to a Game 7 against the Oilers a year ago. So you got to make some changes, right? And they've done that with Millar. They probably are going to, they're going to do that with Boeser again this offseason in all likelihood. When you look at Demko and Pettersson, their futures aren't necessarily safe. Demko's now injury prone going into the final year of his deal, and the club's got to make a decision on Pettersson before July 1st when his no trade clause kicks in. So really the core now is Quinn Hughes. That's it. And everything they do has got to be around making him confident in the future of this organization going forward, because in a year from now, he's eligible for an extension, and he is like, this guy's a top 7 or 8 player in the National Hockey League. Full stop. He is that good when he's healthy. So you better make sure you don't screw this up, and you got to keep him here long term.
If you had $1 for every time that you interviewed or known of a player that played with a tear of some sort, you'd probably be the new franchisee of a Western Pizza there in the Lower Mainland. But what are you making of the Trevor Harris story in the ACL, MCL tears and then the PRP shots instead of surgery?
Yeah, more and more people are doing that unless it's a complete tear, right? And we've seen people play with complete tears. You look at Alex Singleton of the Broncos, complete tear of his ACL and finished an entire game, right? Like, so these things do happen, and technology, especially on the medical side, evolves from time to time. And we've seen even before an MCL injury led to a scope. Now it doesn't necessarily do that. So there's different ways to work through that. I don't think it's going to, put Trevor Harris in a position where he's more likely to get injured again next year. I think it shows a tremendous amount of toughness that he was able to do what he did and eventually came back, and it shows how invested he is in the franchise that he did all of that. But, having a chance to visit with him this offseason, he is so excited and feels so prepared and thinks he's found the fountain of youth. So, I said on this show last week when you weren't here, Barney, that if Trevor Harris plays 17 games, I think he's going to win the MOP, and I'm standing by that because I really like what Saskatchewan's done around him, and I think that they're putting him in the best position to stay healthy.
So, obviously, you think he's going to be MOP. Who's going to challenge him out of the West, though? You got Brady, you've got Nathan Rourke. Like, who's his biggest challenge?
Well, I do think Nathan's going to be significantly better, right? He's going to, is he 2022 Nathan Rourke? I don't know, but I don't know that anyone will be that again. But his entire offseason, he's doing the Vernon Adams mini camp, right, where he's got the guys for 3 days, and they're all in North Vancouver right now as we speak, finishing up practice, doing team building activities, catered meals, all of that. He's really getting a buy-in in this locker room. So I think we're going to see the best version of Nathan Rourke. I also think Vernon Adams is going to be part of that conversation if he's healthy, right? I'm curious to see just how dynamic the people around him are going to be, but I think Vernon Adams is going to bring the best out of that locker room and best out of that offense, and be a real cultural improvement for what's gone on in Calgary. And honestly, I think the biggest challenge for that MOP is going to be Davis Alexander in Montreal. I think this guy is outstanding. I think the Als made the right decision by picking Alexander to be their quarterback of the future. He's going to open up that offense entirely, and they've got big-time weapons around him in Montreal. So, in my opinion, Montreal is going to win the East, and Davis Alexander is going to be right there nipping at Trevor Harris's heels for the MOP.
Before we brought you on, Farhan, we were talking about marketing with the Regina Pats. I have a question about that with the CFL here, obviously with new commissioner Stuart Johnston, who you know very well with TSN. What does he need to do to market the CFL better, to just get more people in the stands and get more eyes on the game?
That's a tough question, and I say that because, I'm 57, so I don't know what good marketing to young people looks like, right? It's so different, right? I get all these people on Twitter, that are big CFL fans, and you can tell they're old, and they just, marketing, and that's true, but we wouldn't know what good marketing is because we might not see it. Yeah. Right. And I say that because it's not billboards and program ads or newspaper ads anymore. Right. So much of it is done, in the digital space and on social media. And there's different ways that they collect data to make sure the right eyeballs are on the product. And I think Stu understands where that is and where the failings of the league have been in that area. Right. And they took some steps with Genius 3 years ago, but where's it gone since then? And what's going to happen on the television side, right? In terms of what does the next TV contract look like? Is there a streaming component to it? Is there another broadcast partner? Does it look differently in terms of what they want to integrate within the broadcast? So I think there's a lot of that. TV ratings were encouraging this year. Certainly what we're seeing on the Grey Cup. both financially and in terms of audience, has been really positive. And, what can they do to build on that? So I guess, yeah, you are right, but I can't sit here and tell you this is the exact marketing strategy that needs to happen, because I just don't know, because they're not marketing to me. They're marketing to people that are 15 and 20 years younger than me now.
Farhan Lalji,
even though I look young, even though I look young, and I look like that guy, I know I'm surprising you by telling you how old I am.
And your slang, right? That slaps,
that's right,
as the kids say.
Kids say.
Okay, last one here. Farhan Lalji, TSN, the Cooperator. Speaking of the money, and it came out this week, right? It was the Grey Cup, the financial spinoff, and the great numbers there. And then the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, absolute flex with their making of $7 schmil. That's really good for the league, though, right? Because there's the people that sit and crap on the league and all this. And yeah, I'm sure Edmonton and Calgary now are like doing the Homer Simpson back into the shrubbery when their financials come out. The Riders are coming out in a bit. But it's just great for the league, right? When you're seeing all this money being made.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic, because it shows prospective owners that you can make money in this league, that it doesn't have to be, a charitable expense, right? So when you look at what the Bombers do, and they take a lot of that money and they put some of that back into stadium financing, right, and things like that, and the Riders are in similar situations because of, what was done to make such an outstanding cutting-edge stadium in Regina. But now, you look at a team like Calgary, and Calgary all of a sudden is going to have that bowl game that they're going to have, in July, and bring the Bombers in and bring in a big time concert, because they've got a venue that can do more, right? And you've got Edmonton, I know is looking in the same direction, because they've got a venue where you could potentially do more. So the fact that you can make that, and generally what was happening before, the Lions did financially quite well in the Grey Cup. And that was always the payoff, right? That's why David Braley always got a Grey Cup every 3 or 4 years, right? Because, that was where you were going to make money to cover up your losses. Well, now it doesn't have to happen like that, right? So from Winnipeg's standpoint, I think that just encourages everybody else to go where they need to go and spend what they need to, because this is a league that can be profitable.
And if that thing doesn't work in Calgary, it doesn't matter. They'll get some sort of handouts from Vancouver anyway. And then it'll all be good. All right. Thanks so much on this Friday. You get in the gym there, 50 sets of 50, right? Never a day off.
Okay.
Farhan, go train with the kids, and then Maz is going to catch up with you next week.
Yeah. So Barney, I'm waiting for you to fax me your old school weight room program, and I'll get on it immediately.
It was a lot of dips, and then that thing that you squeeze for strong wrists.
I assume it would have been 12-ounce curls.
Yeah, 12-ounce curls. Exactly. All right, see you, Farhan. Have a good one.
All right, see you, boys. Have a good weekend.
Farhan Lalji reports. For the Cooperators, it's time to get financially fit. Cooperators can build a plan that works for you. Invest in your future with the Cooperators. Let's go to break. Come back. We will talk hockey with GM of the Regina Pats, Alan Millar. It's the Sports Cage. Alex, Greg, Colson, Curtis, whole crew for Nelson Holmes. We are streaming at sportscage.com and on the home of the Riders, 620 CKRM. Hard to believe, the D-gen that I am, we haven't even mentioned what's going on at the Masters yet. We're watching it in the background. Justin Rose still leading from all accounts. Bit of a long shot there. Bryson DeChambeau trailing -7, so Rose is at -8. And then Rory is battling back. He battled back, shot a 66 today, -6. Corey Connors, the Canadian, -6. They're showing Ozempic Phil finishing up right now. He's +1 on 14. What's the cut? +1? I guess we should have turned up the volume at some point. Scheffler's in -5. There's a lot of guys in the mixer there. We'll keep you updated. WHL reports always for extreme hockey and sport in Calgary, local store where they're got a lot of the new spring hockey sticks gear in right now. They're also dabbling in baseball, lacrosse, and don't forget about Umbrella Marketing. Extreme hockey and sport, the local store in Regina. It was announced yesterday that the Regina Pats will have the first pick in the WHL Prospects Draft. Western Pizza Guest Hotline. It's Friday. Don't cook. Go pick up a pie, the Greek favorites you like. Al Millar's joining us from Winnipeg, Manitoba, where he's currently scouting because he has a number of picks coming up in this draft. Al, thanks for making some time today. I know the last 24 hours has been busy for you.
All good. Great to connect with you guys.
So, what's your immediate reaction? Because the last time we had you on, we were talking about your time in Vegas and if you had some luck there, and what if your luck was going to carry over to if your luck was going to change, vice versa, whatever, for the draft lottery. And then yesterday, the correct ball drops and you guys get it.
Yeah, I think for everybody, and and considering the last couple of years and the difficult decisions that we've made, leading right through this past trade deadline, I think everybody's obviously excited. I think to have the number one pick in the draft, to start the day at number one. In a draft that's real important for us, with the 5 picks in the first and second round, to start the day with what we consider the best prospect available in the draft is great for the organization, exciting for everybody, hopefully exciting for our fan base, and just part of our process and part of trying to build this thing the right way.
I don't know what the line is that you can walk here, and I was really hoping to be able to do this on video so I could see your face. I don't want you to get mad at me by any means, but can we just say that Maddox Schultz is a Regina Pat? Like, can we start selling the jerseys?
No, you can't. You can't start selling the jerseys just yet. Hey, I think I don't know how many questions I've answered, and there's a lot of discussion around Maddox, and rightfully so. And and I've mentioned this a couple of times. I can't mention Maddox without congratulations to the Patsies and the run they're on, and the impressive showing at Western Regionals. And we wish them all the best in getting ready for the TELUS Cup and trying to win a national championship. And my position on this is that we know where we're at the top of the draft. We know the direction we want to go. We knew for a long time that we were going to be in the lottery. Dale Durkach and I and our staff have had a focus on the top 2 or 3 players in the draft. And, my position at this point is that the first communication I'm going to have to tell someone that who we're taking as number one is going to be the player and the family. And we'll work with the WHL on that process here over the next couple of weeks, and that's where we're at.
My follow-up question, I'm not going to ask, it was about what it would take to trade that pick away, but I know you're not going to do that, so I'll let Greg go.
Obviously, you already mentioned you have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds. That's a plethora of picks. Are you looking at either trading something to get value right away, or are you going to play the long game here and be 2-3 years out?
Yeah, I think we're open, to anything. I think that we wanna, when we built the foundation with the young group we have now and the draft capital we have, we wanted to look at it that it gave us options to improve our team, whether it's this summer, a year from now, or whenever along the way here. Those 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, it's exciting for our group. We have 1, 23, 26, 27, 46. So the end of the first, top of the second is going to be a real busy time for us. But everything's on the table for us to get better. I don't know if we'll draft 5 players in the first 2 rounds. If there's an opportunity to be aggressive and move up, we'll consider it. If we take the first 4 picks and use them, and we feel we want to push, our third, second round pick into future years to utilize it in a different way down the road, we're preparing for an important off season. This draft, the draft capital, making any moves to improve our team, the import draft. All those things are important to us. We want to take a good step next year, and like I said, everything's on the table to consider what we need to do to get better.
With your long career, Al, in doing this and having 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, have you ever had that many picks, that much capital in the first two? And then the second part to the question is, what challenges does that possess when you have that many picks in 2 rounds?
Yeah, I've never had that many picks, and that was part of what we built through the long game, Barney, with the 5 picks in the first 2 rounds, 9 picks in the first 2 rounds the next 2 years. I think it's 18 or 19 picks in the first 3 rounds of the next 3 drafts. Like I said, the draft capital is important. You want to draft well, you want to develop. That's the model. Teams that grow up together have success together. Teams that win championships, traditionally have 15-plus players that have been drafted and grown up in your own organization. That's what we want to be. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, there's a plethora of picks there that, I'm not sure, and again, this will be based on what our draft list looks like, what the board looks like at the time. But do we take 5 players in the first 2 rounds? Yeah. And then you have expectations of 5 players being in your lineup when they're 16 years old. To try and improve your team down the road, do you push a pick to the future? Or is there an opportunity with a player you really like that's sliding in the draft for some reason, and you want to be aggressive and try to move up in the first round? So I don't necessarily think there's a lot of challenges there, but there are options, to utilize it the best way that we can. And we'll consider those things as we move along here.
Does the NCAA and now the American and the American athlete and them looking at the WHL, does that play into it more, Al, with the picks this year? Or is it too young for those kids that are 15 to know what their direction is going to be when it comes to the American kids?
Well, there's more and more interest from the U.S. kids in terms of talking about the WHL now, and for obvious reasons. I think the entry point, there's going to be more players available at 16 and 17 because of the rule change. We will have a real focus on our 2 picks in the U.S. draft, and those picks are more valuable now, with more interest in considering the league. You do have to work through those high-end players that are going to play on the National Development Program in Plymouth, Michigan, and those ones that don't and are interested in coming to the league at 16, 17. I look at some 16 and 17-year-old players, 08s and 07s, are showing interest in terms of, coming to camps, being free agent invites by American players, lots of agents reaching out, looking for opportunities for American players. So we will get through the U.S. draft with the first 2 rounds. And then we'll look at the core group of U.S. players that we like that did not get drafted in those 2 rounds, move them to our WHL prospects list, and continue to consider the best player available. And that could be American players when we get to that part of the draft as well.
It's Alex here, Al. How difficult is it to weigh the needs that you have now with this team with what you may need in a few years after this number 1 overall pick is, a couple seasons in?
Well, I think that's something we talk about all the time as a group. We plan 4 years out. Whether that's our draft board, whether that's our depth charts. Whenever we make a move, we update those charts. We talk about our team, where our team is at. We plan in terms of the cyclical nature of the team, players moving on, players taking a step, the development around players getting better. I talked about the entry part of, the NCAA rule change with more players available. I think we've talked about this before on the show. The exit part is a little bit more of what's the challenge or the question mark in terms of the ability for, maybe not as many 20-year-olds in the league because they're going to move on to other opportunities. We know that there's going to be some 19-year-olds moving along the way here. But, all those things are things you really can't plan on, and what we just, want to stay focused on terms of building year to year, getting better, hopefully being able to make the moves that we need to make. And then when we feel we have a chance to, go from being a competitive team, which is a playoff team for me, and then we feel we can contend, that we have the assets and the ability to, try and do what we need to do to put our team over the top.
Okay, last one for me, Al. This draft, from things that I've heard, is it's pretty strong on the defensive side of the ice. The draft and the 2010 kids, how do you see it from what your scouting staff's saying to you?
Yeah, it's similar. I think that I think there's some defense on. There's certainly some good depth on defense. I think there's some size on the back end that I think is really intriguing. I think that there's good depth in the draft all round. I think maybe once you get through the top 8, the top 10, that you start to get into some players that I don't want to say they look the same, but some difficult decisions in terms of the guy at 12 could be as good as the guy you have on your list at 25, and I think that's a good thing. But I think it's a good draft, the forward group, maybe not lots of size, but good sense and skill. But certainly some depth on the back end and some intriguing, bigger-bodied players that we'd certainly like to add one of those guys with one of our next picks after number 1.
Right on. Okay, as always, thanks for making some time. I know you're out there in Winnipeg scouting. Appreciate it. It's been a busy stretch for you. It's going to be a busy stretch for you, too, with all the scouting and those picks. Thanks for doing this, Al.
Yeah, all good. Always a pleasure, guys, and have a great day and weekend. Take care. Thanks.
You too. General Manager of our Regina Pats, Al Millar. Yeah, that's a lot of picks. Like it doesn't sound like a lot, but when you break it down, like he said, is it more advantageous to listen to offers and then move that and maybe hold like 3 second round picks? Do you move a second round to next year and then hope that it's a little bit higher? Do you maybe package 2 second? There's a lot there.
There's gonna be a lot of balls in the air because he's right. Like, do you really want 5 high-end 16-year-olds? Because that skews your team very young right off the hop right there.
If you can bring in an older player to kind of mentor these younger players by packaging those second-round picks maybe, I think you have to at least consider it. Take those phone calls.
The one thing that I've known him now for a year, like he is very savvy. He's been through the game. He's seeing the wool pulled over a lot of eyes, and you just look at his hockey DB and when he started this run, the Pats and the Capital and everything they have on that front is in good hands. But if it was always done on a draft board on paper, then there'll be a lot of teams that have championships that didn't. So I think he's going to do it the right way. They're going to be young. They played the heck out of the youngsters this year. Like some of those kids coming back next year, it's like anything. That year under your belt, the development. So yeah, and then you have Maddox for 34 games next year. I appreciate that he can't say it, but we can say it.
Potentially.
I'm a little worried because I got like a box full of Maddox Schultz jerseys I want to sell now, and he wouldn't give me the green light. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. Bobblehead. Who's going to be the first company that comes with a Maddox Schultz something or other? That's the thing. Colson's already thinking back there. Marketing genius. Thanks, Tal, on the Western Pizza guest hotline. Like I said, you'd be crazy to cook tonight. It's Friday. Pick up a Western pie, a wheel, all the Greek favorites you love at your local Western Pizza. We'll go to break, come back, wrap things up. We'll give you an update on the Masters. Looks like Phil just put another one in the drink. It's a Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. Justin Rose still leading the Masters, but Scotty Scheffler. I know a lot of people out there, you're rooting for Scheffler. You got action on Scheffler. He's back in the mixer. He's -6. Connor's -6. DeChambeau -7. Justin Rose, he's been in the clubhouse for a while. He's relaxing. He's -8. Thanks to everyone who's sent stuff in on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Gary in Winnipeg calls himself the old fart. We're talking about rider ticket prices earlier. He says, last year the Bombers sold 4 game mini packages for 4 seats for $400 total. It's $100 a game. That included a hot dog and a drink for 4 people. So that's 4 hot dogs, not 4 people sharing 1 hot dog, although that would be kind of cool. That's a Winnipeg thing. That makes it affordable to take the family to a game. That's how you get young fans into the game. I agree. That's a heck of a price. It's very Saskatoon Blades, Saskatoon Rush-ish thing.
Well, that's something we've talked about for a long time on Piffles is make it affordable for families. Bring your young kids. Get those kids fans at a young age. And the best way to do that is, the food's expensive at Mosaic. So cheap hot dogs are cheap, drinks are cheap. Bring them in that way.
They've done a better job over the last couple of years of having an item on the menu at Mosaic Stadium that's a little bit more affordable. But package that with game tickets just makes more sense to me. Or I think Winnipeg does it as well too. I think Calgary does as well. The Stampeders, you get $15 off if you're a season ticket holder for concessions. Now there might be a conflict here with Real and how they operate things, but we don't. But
we don't have enough time in the program to go down that rabbit hole.
But that's something that they need to look at almost everywhere you go. You look at what the Atlanta Falcons do with their, I know that's, big scale billionaires versus what we have here in the CFL.
No Chick-fil-A, no open on Sunday in that stadium. That's always baffled me in Atlanta.
But they have what they call their affordable food list, and hot dogs are $1.50, drinks are $1. Like
first place I saw that was Arizona Diamondbacks.
Yep.
Game.
Yep.
And I was like, brilliant. Now, mind you, the $1 hot dog isn't the same hot dog that the missus and I had for $6.50, but it's still a $1 hot dog. The kids didn't know any difference. Pork missile's a pork missile.
Sign me up for like 5 or 6 of them.
Well, and that's it. Like you don't have to have every station offering the cheap stuff, but have a couple of those around the stadium. People will find them. So just make it affordable.
How about a real weird one? There's so many parents out there that just want a place to baby for their kids to dump them off. Have a kids section where you just have people monitoring the kids and the parents just drop them off, pick them up 3 hours later, go to a football game. Just like a babysitting account. New exclusive season ticket member benefits for the riders. I saw you retweet this.
About time.
Yeah, which one jumps out? They all jump out at you?
They're all good ideas. The thing that I found the most intriguing is their season ticket swapping ability, where if I couldn't make the game, I put my tickets up on the market, but now I can go, I can't make this game, but I might want to take 4 friends to a game later in the season, so it's just 1 for 1. It's brilliant. They're going to sell the other tickets anyway, so they might as well do it that way. It's good.
Caught the attention of a lot of people out there with their garages half open right now. Which one jumped out at you?
I really like the idea of having this kickoff event, the season ticket member kickoff event, which happens to coincide with the preseason game in Winnipeg. So they'll send out details to season ticket holders. You can sign up and you can go to this thing, and there's locker room tours. They'll have players there as well too who aren't going to go to the Winnipeg game. Maybe they show the game on the Maxtron, so you can have a beautiful May afternoon at Mosaic Stadium, catch the game on there, watch the game with a player. How cool would that be?
How long have you lived in Regina?
I've been here my entire life.
The odds of a nice, we're about 50-50.
See, May long is the bad weekend. It gets nice after that. When everybody's back to work. Yeah.
You got snow. I like that. Yeah, let people in. Heck, let them bring their trunks, sit in the hot tub for a bit.
Sure.
Season ticket holders play some ping pong. Explore.
Well, and that's the thing about that stadium. Like, I went to when they used to do those Pros and Joes to raise money for, I think it was cancer they were giving the money to back then. Like, those stadium tours were awesome. So yeah, bring those back. Every fan wants to see that crown jewel of Saskatchewan.
Yeah, I like the ticket swap thing. That's really creative, especially when you got people seating that are starting now and then some that ain't going to start until second week of June or whenever the late is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a good little touch. It's Greg and Alex. If you don't recognize their voice, you're not watching the stream from Piffles podcast. They're with me all day, Curtis and Colson as well. We're up against news. Am I reading that clock correctly, fellas? All right, news. When we come back, hour 2, we'll start with head coach of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins. They're into the next round quite easily. It's a SportsCage, the home of sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Hour 2, if you are just picking up the program, it's Barney, Alex, and Greg from the Piffles podcast and the CNC production company for Nelson Holmes today. If you missed any of it, hour 1, Farhan, Lalji, general manager of the Regina Pats, Alan Miller. You can pick it all up in podcast form or watch it on YouTube if you want the video version of things. Before we get going here, Justin Rose -8, Bryson DeChambeau -7, and then Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, Canadian Corey Connors, he's in the clubhouse -6, and Tyrrell Hatton -6. So it's making for a great weekend of doing nothing but watching golf. Tell your significant other this is like the only weekend I do this. Please, can I just sit on this couch and watch golf?
Why would you lie to them like that?
There's only 4 majors a year. Pat on the Prairie Land Rentals text line. Pat's definitely been drinking. He says, hey, how about we talk about beer prices and look at those prices at the Masters? Why can't we have those at Mosaic Stadium?
You ain't wrong.
Well, that would never going to happen in any stadium, any place besides the Masters. Heck, you can't even get a beer at that Masters price at a slow pitch tournament in Carlisle. Like it's crazy how they do the prices there. And then also somebody from up north, northern Alberta, because that's a 780, right? Maybe they live here now. Do these $1.50 hot dogs compare to the $1.50 hot dogs at Costco? No, they don't.
They do not.
That's one of the greatest values in the country.
Still one of the greatest deals of all time.
Our SJHL reports are always for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. If you're tired of feeling cramped in your vehicle, for as low as $153 weekly, you can get into a 2024 brand new Chrysler Grand Caravan. Or they also have $11,000 off the 2024 Ram 3500s. The new king of trucks, worth the drive every time in Southie, Saskatchewan, Southie Mainline Chrysler. Trevor Blevins, head coach of the Melfort Mustangs, SJHL's wagon this year. Blevs, it's been like a year since, a little under a year since we talked, because last year you were running roughshod over the SJHL, and here you are again coaching this Mustangs, like I said, wagon. What's going right in Melfort with your organization?
Well, thanks for having me, Shanks. It's been a while, but with our group, I think it's just a matter of you got to give all the credit to the players. It's every day they've been dialed in, and when we get knocked down, they respond through the roof, really. And you got to give leadership, right? Our 25th player shout outs, because without them, it's obviously can't happen. But they've paid the price and been focused every day, and they have a big will to win, no doubt.
I appreciate you wanting to put it to the players. That's great. That's what a great coach does. But like the coaching staff, maybe even more so, your scouting staff, you guys must be all on the same page there, bringing in the same players, because year after year now, it seems that you guys got this model that's winning. And from what I hear on the street, Blevs, is you're even going to be as good, if not better, next year.
Well, I think you got to give a lot of credit to 2 people that we work with here on staff. One is Rick Oakes. He's our director of player personnel, and he's been in junior A hockey in Saskatchewan for over 20 years. And this is his 10th year with our organization. And that man is connected, through all of Canada and the U.S. And he's done a great job. He turns over rocks everywhere, knows where to look, and has an idea where players are, and he never forgets a player either, which is huge. And then my assistant coach, obviously Ty Sugar, a young guy, brings a lot of energy, played for me for 2 years, and for him, he's taken a lot of duties, power play, special teams, done a great job with pregame meetings and making sure guys are prepared, and there's a lot of energy in the room when he gets out of there. So, he brings a lot to us, and can't credit those two guys enough, really, for what they bring for our team.
Hey, Trevor, Greg here. Obviously, you guys swept the Terriers in the semifinals here. Weyburn was on their way to sweeping Flin Flon. Flin Flon showed they weren't going to be pushed around, went 5-1 in that last game. So now you're playing the waiting game. So how do you keep the guys locked in?
Well, we took a few days here rest. We're going to do that, and then Sunday get back at it and kind of break up the week with a bit of 3-on-3 and skills days. And but also when we get after, we're going to keep practices short, hard, and play a lot of live situations so we're game ready. I think that's going to be a big key when, going into game one last year with Flin Flon, when we won game 7 2 days earlier, I thought we were game ready and took them by surprise. So for us this year, during this break, we're going to play a lot of live game-like situations in practice and make sure it's high pace, high intensity, and battling and competing against each other for sure.
So you want me to bring my rec team out is what you're saying for a skate?
Shanks, we don't need you waving your stick up by the red line waiting for a stretch pass. No, that's okay. Because I guarantee you that's your breakout. Hey, you played for my old man. I remember what he used to say about you.
Trevor, it's Alex here. In that 4-game series against Yorkton, what did you learn about your team?
Well, Yorkton really pushed. I thought, even though it was a 4-game sweep, you got to give a lot of credit to them and their coaching staff about how prepared they were. I thought game 1, when a 6-1 win, we were fairly dominant, and then they really had a push in game 2. And then game 3 and 4, those games could have went either way. They were really 1-goal games through and through most of those nights, and they really took us on the forecheck. I thought they got on top of our D and on top of our forwards, but at the end of the day, our guys adapted and really did a great job handling the pressure in our D zone, which is huge for us moving forward going into the final.
I like that. The chance for the guys to maybe rest a bit and then get that competitive, juice going again this week. When do your teams ever get a little too cocky, Trev, and you go, hey, listen, the 95-96 Stangs team would roll you guys?
Never, ever. We're chirpy, though. We have a lot of fun at practices and every day, no doubts, but I don't bring that up too much. I'm a 50-year-old old fat bald guy that doesn't relate to that anymore. The game's changed too much, and they don't even look at my stats probably, but they would. They're a good group, we're competitive. We have a saying in our room, we're confident, not cocky. We make sure we get after it each day, but you got to have the confidence too, right, to be able to make plays and do the right things out there and be creative so that you're successful and can put some pucks in the net. But, as far as getting ahead of ourselves, getting above ourselves, we had a couple slaps in the face this season that we learned from, and I think that's important to go through when you can hit the reset button and get back after it and play the way you can.
Let's give a couple of shout-outs here. Who are maybe, and I've talked to some coaches, talking to Haji from the Patsies, who obviously are on a heck of a run, and Ryan as well, really close. And Cody Mapes said it down in Weyburn. It's like you learn so much about players in the playoffs, and a player can develop in the 2 weeks of a playoff series more than you see in 3 months of a regular season. Are you seeing that from some of your guys, maybe your younger guys, and maybe let's give some shout-outs name-wise?
Well, it's tough to pinpoint on a couple and single them out, but, I think going into playoffs, we had a couple wild cards on our team. One was Will Monroe, who was a player that had a tough go in the WHL, kind of got bounced around, didn't play much. We acquired him from Swan Valley earlier this season, and you could see his confidence was low and whatnot, and just didn't quite have the jam needed to play our style. And I think for him, he's bought in 100%. Like he's probably been our one of, a guy that's really turned the page. And, Ashton Paul, same kind of player, who's kind of bounced around a little bit in the MJ, and then we picked him up, and he's really figured it out. Both guys have a huge buy-in factor right now, and been wild cards for us, and definitely turned out great here so far in the playoffs.
Right on, Blaz. Well, I know you're traveling and took some time. I'll leave you with the main question for me. How did the Melfort course winter, and when are we looking at opening day there?
Yeah, it's too early to tell. There's lots of snow there, but hopefully we're not golfing for a while here in Melfort for us as organization. But
but last year when you were making the run, the couple days off here and there, I was talking to some of your boys. They were golfing while they were doing the interviews.
Oh yeah, oh for sure. And that's there's still lots of snow up here, unfortunately. It'd be nice to get that off the course and get going, but yeah, we're looking forward to seeing on the course, Shinks, and watching Shank a few in the bush.
Awesome. Always appreciate you, Trev. Keep it going. What a run it's been, and then we'll catch up in a few weeks.
Yeah, let's do that. All right, thank you.
Right on, head coach, general manager of the Melfort Mustangs, Trevor Blevins. They are rolling. Do you guys follow the SJ much?
They're just running through right now. They're on another level.
So I bring up jokingly that team that he was on.
Oh, yeah.
The 90, you aware of this 95, 96 Melfort Mustangs team, which I actually did a short a podcast episode on the full team when I was running this other side hustle podcast. And I talked to Kevin Dickey, who was the head coach, talked to Blevs. Forget the other, Barkley Sauter was on that team. Like, they would have competed in the Western Hockey League that year because Jason Duda, Curtis Dole, Valerie Ermolov, Blevins, Homestall, Sauter, Stevenson, Kalmakoff, and then Willie Mitchell, who came out of nowhere and then ended up having a heck of a run in the NHL, and then Scott Frankhauser was their goal. Like, they were so good, and they just ran through everybody. They hosted the Royal Bank Cup in Melfort. They rolled through everybody, including the Vernon Vipers in the RBC Cup. Then it comes down to the final, and it's one game, and Vernon beat them.
In a best of 7 series, best of 5, you can have those one-offs. The one game, you got to make sure you are at your absolute best. And and I remember, like, in the pod, Kevin Dickey he admitted that he didn't make the coaching adjustments. Like, he took the fall. He was like, I should have known, I should have done this. And they were so prepared as a different team that we faced in the preliminary round. And then goaltending, like their goalie stood on their head, and it was just like, I remember, like, because I think that was my first year junior or whatever, and everyone was around this Melfort, and wow, and they lost, and it was like, how? Like, they would have made it to the second round of the WHL playoffs. Like, they were good, but yeah, it's a crazy story. And Blevs was on that team, and that team was tough. I went and watched. I remember the first game I watched them play was Kindersley, full out line brawl. I think Morasti might have been on Kindersley. Robbie Boysen, some names out there for guys, and just full out line brawl in the Northern Lights Palace in Melfort. And I was like, crazy. SJHL reports for Southie Mainline Chrysler, the new king of trucks in Southie, Saskatchewan. Worth the drive every time. 2024 Ram 3500s. You can save up to $11,000 right now. Southie Mainline Chrysler. Break time. We're streaming at sportscage.com. As always, we are on the home of local sports in Saskatchewan, 620 CKRM. Welcome back, Sports Cage. All right. Clutch performer. I'm going to go to the Lethbridge Hurricanes last night. Shutout win, Game 1 against Calgary, the Hitmen, 4-0. Jackson Unger, former Moose Jaw Warrior, 33 saves. Shutout. So Jackson Unger is my clutch performer today for Nick's service in Emerald Park. Anybody else? Anybody else got one? How about a neighbor? Anyone done anything nice for you? How about the person that drew the ball for the Regina Pats? Whoever that was yesterday. I thought that was going to be live.
Frozen envelope. The old Sidney Crosby theory.
Yeah, there's a lot of that today. I was at the Tarp Center, and there was a lot of and I didn't know. I had no idea it wasn't live. It all makes sense why it's not when you're putting out a production like that. And yeah, forgot about the frozen envelope. But I was hoping to see, and maybe that's just me being naive, I was hoping to see the Access bingo machine with the balls, and then let's see how they fly. We didn't get any of that.
Nope.
We got, I didn't even forget the gentleman's name, holding up the cards, and that was it. Did you think? What did you guys think? Did you think it would be live and like legit?
Truth is, I knew it wasn't live.
Okay.
I've known this for a few years in my previous broadcasting history, but it's still. I purposely didn't look for it in the morning to try and find out because I think it was 10 a.m. was when they held it. I wanted to wait to see in the evening how it all shaped out.
And then Colson was waiting and watching it, and then you figure it out on Victory Plus, Colson. Wait a minute, I could just fast forward.
Yeah, I think they were trying to do it like a premiere thing, so it would broadcast like it was live. And I open it up, and I'm like, "There's a skip button." And I just fast forward, and I'm like, "Oh, there's the cards, and oh, we got the first pick post." So yeah, I think that was a technical error on their end, but hey, it works.
Okay. Let's shift. NHL playoffs. Are you guys big NFL guys? I know earlier you said you're big football guys, but yeah, I know you watch hockey.
Yeah.
Keniston Super Draft is coming up. Deadline is April 22nd. Now this is a draft. We were on it last year on the SportsCage. We had fun with it. It's over $80,000 in prizes. Now the beauty of this is you can go in for $40 if you just say, "Hey, I'm just want to sprinkle one team." Or you can go 8. You can go one 8-player Super 8 for $10. So $50. You got 2 ways to win. But the bonus offer is what a lot of people do: 3 32-player drafts for $100. So if you're $40 each, you're saving there. And then the 7 32-player Super Draft entries for $200. This is when you go in with your buddies.
Oh yeah.
This is when you go in with the guys, or if you're absolute degened out like me, you just go 200 on your own. And then it's the box draft, right? Have you guys ever done this?
Oh yeah, we used to do box drafts all the time back.
Have you ever done the Keniston Super Draft?
I've never done the Keniston one.
Yeah, and then it keeps the stats and all that. You can see where you are. You can have little side bets with your buddies and all that. So it's the box, but it's always these add-ons at the bottom, because in the box. So right now the box says we can cross off Calgary because they're not playing. Who else is eliminated that they have here? Dun, dun, dun. Utah.
Vancouver.
See you later. Oh, sorry, Canuck fans. Farhan talked to us earlier in hour one. What was the cheap shot that I took? Oh, the riding. Are they starting to gather? Over in the East, the Rangers. Where's that sitting at right now? It's going to be Montreal and Ottawa, isn't it?
Yep.
Does a guy touch a little Ottawa, Montreal, the way they're playing? No Brady Tkachuk.
Yeah, if you're going up against Washington, I'm probably not picking your guys.
See, we had Victor Finley on yesterday, voice of the Habs. They're that team that's a grind. They're grinding to get in.
They've won 6 straight.
And Montreal and Washington's kind of been Ovechkin chase. We've been good all year. It reminds me of Boston a few years ago. They're really good, awesome. I was like, no, I know this operation. Back away, not today. And but Montreal, Nick Suzuki, goaltending. Yeah, so they're at 87 points. Columbus and the Rangers, they're 6 points back. I think they pretty much got to run the table. I'm going to make an executive decision here and cross off the Rangers. Definitely crossing off the Islanders. We could almost cross off the New Jersey Devils with the injuries and all that. Like, if you had to fill this out today, where would you be heavy, Craig?
if I had to be heavy.
Well, or how would you want to do it? Would you just dabble? You go like a couple guys on each team, then you lose guys first round?
I was always a dabbler. I would cover my bases.
Did you ever win?
Yeah.
No, get with that strategy?
It worked. Don't get me wrong. I remember one time the Welwyn draft. I know not big as the Kenniston draft.
Shout out Welwyn.
Shout out Welwyn, Saskatchewan. One group of gentlemen went all in on Ottawa, and that's when they lost the first round to the Leafs, I believe, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah.
And then they were out. They actually offered to do the dishes the following year for the supper if they can get back in.
Say that again?
Because this Welwyn draft has a supper involved.
Yeah.
And so because they were out in the first round because they went all Ottawa, legitimate all Ottawa, lost out, and then they actually asked if they did the offer to do the dishes if they could get back into the draft.
Creative. I like those fellas. Those are the kind of guys we need in marketing. Next, for the Pats and the Riders, hire those guys. What would you do? Would you kind of go like 3, 4, 5 teams heavy, or would you sprinkle it around too?
I'd sprinkle it around a little bit, but the team I'm looking at least in the East, since we're talking about the East, that I'm kind of think of as maybe a dark horse, the Tampa Bay Lightning.
They're good,
but nobody's talking about them.
Some of the what show was I listening to the other day, and they started just going through the roster and the guys that have grinded in the playoffs with other teams. Well, let's look at the box. Would you take all those guys right there?
I wouldn't take everybody, but Jake Gensel
yep.
He scores big goals in the plaffs.
And he plays on the first line.
Penguins fan, right? So he plays on the first line. Kucherov is just an unbelievable talent. You have to take him.
He's not good. He's going to be okay.
Braden Point.
That's their first line, isn't it? Isn't it Kucherov, Point, and Gensel?
Load him up.
Oh, yeah. And then power play points. So can they still play? Is it still looking like them in Florida? First round? That's the only sketchy thing there. Is you lose a whack of guys early. Oliver Bjorkstrand. Why not? Anthony Cirelli. Yanni Gord, who they just got back from Seattle.
Yeah.
Who was there and then came back.
I like Yanni Gord.
Oh, yeah. And he was such a good playoff performer for them. We're going through the box here in the Kenniston Super Draft for the Tampa Bay guys. Alex has got me thinking now. I like Tampa Bay. I just don't like that first round matchup. Jake Gensel, like we said, Brandon Hagel, Victor Hedman, Kucherov, Nick Paul.
He scored some big goals for them.
Braden Point. Then you can write in. That's the other thing. You don't sleep on the right end part. Then you go down the Tampa Bay and be like, okay, maybe who's a little bit injured, who's not on there, and then you start looking at lines. Maybe I overthink it. Maybe that's been a couple years since I've won a draft. Last year, Dallas absolutely screwed me. Eric Francis and myself were heavy on Dallas, and they were right there. Now, Dallas could play Colorado first round?
They could.
Oh, like who wants that smoke? Who do you want? Like what
That's it. Some of this is just close your eyes, hope and prayer, because some of these matchups are going to go 6 or 7 games, and then the next round, one team is tired, one team might be banged up. Then what do you do?
Los Angeles, Edmonton. Oh,
that's gonna be a good one.
Again,
that's going deep. 6, 7.
And those games that they've had over the last couple of years have been just phenomenal playoff games.
And isn't it the best that, like, when LA, San Jose, they're not going to make it, Anaheim, back when those teams are in it, because you got that late West Coast game and you can just sit up and watch hockey, then it goes into overtime and it's just like a wild ride of emotions. For me, I'm obviously on, cool bet, hammering in play bets and all that. Yeah, and then the Kings, they'll wear down McDavid and Draisaitl, and then this year watching the Oilers, we're going to get some crazy people text in here right away. We start talking about Oilers. Sorry, and it's Friday, so they're probably already in the sauce. I don't know if they're that deep this year.
That matchup against LA is going to be hard for them. It reminds me of the 90s matchup of the Oilers versus the Stars. It was every year.
Oh, yeah.
But
I was a Stars guy then.
yeah, and it was every year. They always went 6 or 7. It was great hockey, but it was always a struggle, no matter what. Didn't matter what position they were in.
Who was that? Who was the super fast Oiler that blew by like Grant Ledyard on the right side to finish it and scores on like John Casey? He was a smaller guy. 936 6262. Oiler fans.
Yeah, take that one to the people. We're Penguins fans.
You're both Penguins fans?
Yeah. So is Steve, actually, the third member of Piffles. That's just by a happy accident.
What makes you what would have made you a Pens fan back in the day?
Mario Lemieux for me.
See, I actually became a fan of all my pro teams when I was like 6 or 7 by picking the best logo. Or the one I liked the most anyway. Maybe not the best logo, but the one that I liked the most.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it was the Pittsburgh Penguins. And then it was Jaromir Jagr after that. Like, that's my favorite player of all time. I could do a thesis on why Jaromir Jagr is the greatest hockey player of all time.
He was so good.
He was. And we're talking about favorite players, though. I wore 22 growing up for Mike Bossy. So if Mike Bossy didn't retire early and I discovered Mario Lemieux, I'd probably be an Islanders fan right now.
So you made the Moosomin minor hockey organization make sure they had a 22, or
they always had
custom
22.
made jerseys?
Always had 22.
Really?
I used to have to race a kid for that jersey.
Back in Saskatoon, it was like 1, 2 to 14 or whatever.
Well, back then the teams were huge, so we always had 1 through like 30, and then 35 and 37 for goalies.
Or there's the one player that was like hit puberty at 8 and he had to wear a goalie jersey. It's like you got to wear 31 this year. Sorry, bud. It was Todd something. I'm trying to look at old Edmonton Oiler. Todd Marchand?
That sounds about right.
Yep.
Was that the guy?
There definitely was Marchand. Was his name Todd? Could it be Todd?
Let's check it out.
Google box.
Todd Marchand's 1997 Game 7 OT winner versus Dallas Stars. I took a lot out of this noodle to come up with that. Todd Marchand.
That's why it's so hot in here.
So what are we sitting at now? 28 degrees. We got a heat problem again in the SportsCage studio. That's how it is. Anyway, the Keniston Super Draft. You can get in until April 22nd at 6 p.m. Superdraft.com. $80,000. 3 ways to win. First place, $20,000. You win that. You can buy custom jerseys for whatever minor hockey organization. You're a fancy like Moosomin.
That's a few Western Pizza wheels right there.
Oh yeah, let's not talk food. Let's go to break here. Masters, they're winding it down. Scotty Scheffler has a nice cashmere sweater on. He's on the 17th hole, -5, but the leader is Justin Rose at -8. It's the SportsCage on the mighty 620 CKRM. Shout out Canada's women's world hockey team, Emily Clark from Saskatoon. We got a Sasky lady on that. They shut out Finland yesterday, and then today they shut out the Swiss 4-0. So they haven't allowed a goal in their 2 games at the World Women's Hockey Championship. I don't know how I missed this for Clutch Performer. That one's on me. How about Fort Knox winning their first ever Prairie Junior Hockey League championship in their 29-year existence? We will hear from General Manager Jarrod Williams of Fort Knox. He had an interview with Benny Walchuk from our sister station GX94 today, so that will start hour 3. They're probably still partying in Fort Capel.
It was pretty quiet when I drove through there today.
You were driving through there.
I did
They're inside.
Yorkton and back turn and burn today. So
I wish I would have known that.
we pick some sausage pierogies while I was there, or what?
Oh, what did Yorkton? What's that place called? The Chalet. There's like a buffet, and then you'd have to drive home. You'd fall asleep. You'd have a nap in Belcaris. Pull over on the side of the road. No, but good on Fort Knox. Fort Capel. I couldn't believe 29 years, no championship. And that, like, for a small town, for an organization like that, they do a great job with the lottery and all that. Just so Sasky.
The Knox are a great example of a good Sasky franchise. They do everything right, and yeah, it's good they finally got their flowers because they earned it the hard way.
Yeah. And then other news, it was on sportscage.com. You can go and read it. The Delisle Chiefs are moving. So they're moving from one small town in northern Saskatchewan to another one. That's a tease. I'll make you go to sportscage.com and find out what town is getting their junior B squad as well. Okay, you guys, the big CFL guys. Let's go back down that pass. We talked about the season ticket holder benefits, but the flex packs, and they come out with. I was actually shocked that they didn't have that capability.
That's a big one for a lot of the out of towners, that especially now that have given up their season tickets, that can only make it to 2, 3, 4 games a year. This is perfect for them. So shout out to the Riders for getting that back because it was needed.
And it was something they had before. Like, I think it was the move to the new stadium where they got rid of it. Because I remember flex packs back in the mid to late 2000s.
Okay, maybe that's where I'm like, yeah, where was the discount? When they came to the new stadium, it was fear of missing out. It was packed all the time, so you probably didn't need that.
And their season ticket base was huge then too. When you had a 3-year waiting list at one point to get season tickets, the flex packs, I don't say they were pointless, but anyone who wanted them already had season tickets probably.
To your point, and people have to travel major. But the one thing I heard a couple days ago was like, it's great because when it comes to seating and harvest, we have no idea. Wait, and it's like, okay, well, we got to get rid of our tickets. Who are we giving our tickets to? We're going to sell them. We're going to put them over there. We're giving them away. All that. This just opens up a whole other, avenue, vehicle, whatever, for people to get to the stadium and watch games. When you guys do the Piffles podcast, what's the furthest, or just as being as fans, what's the furthest you hear people driving to every game, season ticket holders?
Every game?
Well, we know that a guy named Gove, he does the Rider Fans Forum. He lives in Calgary. He comes and goes every single game. So they go as far as Calgary. Sometimes I know people in Edmonton that come for games about 4 or 5 times a year. So maybe not
Edmonton.
Yeah.
I heard somebody told me that there used to be, or there was, Kenora. Ontario, 8 hours. Right over the.
No different than Calgary, but yeah.
And then Ron and Deb, sometimes they text in. They're in Pigeon Lake, which is I want to say it was 8 hours, somewhere in Alberta. But I think like those diehard, like those season ticket holders, and that's an event.
Now you got to make that event to the more casual fan.
Yeah.
How do you do that? Is there a way that there can be a partnership with the hotel association? Is there a way that they can do bus trips from small towns? There's got to be something that the Riders can kind of set up to get more people from out of town to come into games.
I feel there used to be way more buses on that whatever side of Taylor Field that was, right? Than what there is now.
They also keep those buses further away from the stadium. They're over by the Cooperator Center in the far corner by the fire station there. So I think they're
maybe
less seen as they were lined up in front of the old stadium. But I don't think there's as many as there used to be. That's for sure.
Well, we talked to Jeff Fairholm, and he was talking about back in the 90s, there was buses coming and going every single game from every small town you can think of. There was, whether it was just a 20-seater bus, whether it was a 55-seat bus, there was buses coming from everywhere. So if they can figure out a way to make that happen again, we'll see those numbers go up in attendance.
Well, what I'm kind of surprised they don't do is that they, like, let's say like 2 hours out, Mooseman, Swift Current, Saskatoon, like pick up at every small town on the way. Do the old Ryder Greyhound service.
Oh, yeah. And then even if people aren't going to come to the games, bring them in anyway. Okay, here. This could go sideways. We could be here for a long time. What's your guys' take on tailgating?
Need it.
Bring it in. You have to bring it in. I know that they can Obviously, that goes higher than the Saskatchewan Roughriders with the governments, but this is something that they can make a full day event. When you look at what happens in the NFL, you have people tailgating at 4 a.m. They're showing up to the parking lot.
Oh, yeah.
Well, look at what happens in even Winnipeg and Edmonton. Like, they're not as crazy as they are in the NFL, but they've got tailgating there. It adds to the atmosphere, brings together your fandom, your camaraderie.
Okay, you guys have traveled to I don't know how many stadiums, so you guys have seen it. Take us through the tailgating in these other places that you guys have been.
It's pretty much non-existent except for Winnipeg and Edmonton is the two bigger ones.
I've been to the Montreal outside
Montreal,
the stadium.
They do have something in Montreal. Just
I actually
off
I was surprised.
Park. Yeah. The Montreal one is actually pretty decent. Went there last year. It was bad weather, so there wasn't a lot of people there. It was pouring rain. We got hit by a thunderstorm there, but it was great. But Ottawa, they're actually doing it this year. They're doing
certain Saturday games.
For certain Saturday games, they're doing tailgates in Ottawa. Calgary does them as well too. So they have the parking lot at McMahon, and that's people are out there.
Have you guys ever been to the Calgary one?
Yes.
I've never been to McMahon, no.
And how was that one?
Oh, it's great. We know lots of people in Calgary.
Saski
some really
game,
good
though?
friends. It was a Saski game, yeah.
Yeah.
Riders, that was when the Riders ended their winless skid last year, and Armstead ran roughshod all over them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
they do it good there.
maybe that's where the Ottawa thing. Maybe can we try it for a few games? I would say let's just go all in. I really want to know on which Colson. I got to know which avenue, which level of government that we got to talk to here, because I just want answers. I'm a curious fellow. Why do we have boulevards? Right? I don't get it. They just get beat up. And you begin. Where's the government that's kiboshing? Is it the provincial?
It's the provincial government, yeah.
Because
to do with all the liquor laws from the SLGA.
They try to repeal that, and then they seem to back away from it pretty fast.
I don't understand why it would be. So liquor laws. I'm trying to think what it would be similar to a tailgate. So you're paying, like people would pay for their spots. Yeah, they do have open liquor. It's not, it's not like you're smuggling it in or anything. Where's the disconnect? What am I missing?
If I had the answer for that,
Yeah, if we had the answer,
I would be at the ledge right now, and I would be. Here's what we're doing, guys.
Rubber stamping it?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm actually shocked that no one really has. Sharky thought it was a bathroom thing, which could be easily rectified.
I think it probably depends on if you need a liquor license. Yes, bathrooms is involved. Yeah, I mean, if you have a liquor license, you have to serve food technically. So I guess you just can't pull up a cooler and just start hammering back.
But that's gotta be just a Saski thing. Like Manitoba's got some weird laws too, and then like, so how are they?
But they allow it. Yep.
Come on, hey, our Manitoba listeners that always text in, Gary, Benny, all you guys, Randy, what makes it happen there? You guys, do you get a license? Who's got the license? Who's got the food? Obviously, when you're tailgating, most people are eating. If it's on a little hibachi or some sort of barbecue, or you're bringing in pie or whatever, I don't know. It's really weird to me.
I think also with the new stadium, though, it also depends on space. Where are you going to put everybody? They're already selling parking spots. They already have their own party in the park. So where do you put people that isn't all the way where the old stadium used to be?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far away. But there's always seems to be like that sketchy area against the fence by the tracks where there's like portable buildings. And what's really going on? Does anyone know what's going on in those two buildings that sit there? There's a big garbage outside of them.
The old warehouse club.
No, look in the parking lot. So if you walked out of the Brant Center,
okay,
and you walk towards the train tracks,
there, yeah. Okay.
There's like two portable buildings that I've never seen anyone go in or out of. And they've been there forever. It's kind of like the pickleball limousine, just sat there. Although that was great branding, great advertising. I don't know what's in those two buildings. Curious fellow. I'd like to know. If you got anything, oh, here we go. Tailgate. Kevin says tailgates, and I don't know if I can say the other thing. Something joints. We need them in Saskatchewan.
Oh, a soft shoe club.
It's the Sports Cage. We're streaming at sportscage.com. Hey, first, how about a shout out Western Pizza? You're driving home right now. We're going to the Western Pizza hotline again. Spiro just dropped off a pie for the fellows in the studio here. So yeah, you don't want to cook when you get home. Think about what's in your fridge. Call Western Pizza. Do the pickup special. Any of the Greek favorites. Oh, some souvlaki, Greek salad. Fall off the ribs, Greek ribs. Oh, so good. Sports Cage, we're on 620 CKRM. If you're driving home, we'll try and paint the picture of what's going on at the Masters for you. It's Barney, Greg, Alex, Colson, and Curtis. Oh, and a number 2 pizza, yes, from Western Pizza. Thank you, Spiro, Mike, everybody at Western Pizza for dropping that off. When we go to news here at 5 o'clock, that thing, she gone. We're going to hit it. Okay, so Scotty Scheffler is on 18. He hit it Barney left, and he got lucky, and he hit the big tree. So now he's talking to a gentleman. That could be the guy that gave the Pats awarded them the lottery thing last night. It looks exactly the same guy, and so they're figuring out he was on his. So hold on, did he hit this out? He was on his knees trying to hit it out of the trees, and now he might be looking for a drop area. Or the ropes in play. It's one of those moments that it's gonna be talked about for a long time at the Masters. Scotty Scheffler out of the trees on the 18th hole, and Scheffler is 2 shots back of the leader Justin Rose, and he's 1 back of second place Bryson DeChambeau. Will you guys be watching this a lot? Do you got a lot of stock in the Masters?
I'll be following mainly because of my very terrible Masters pool right now because it's not looking pretty.
What kind of pool was it? Box pool?
Yeah, box pool. A bunch of buddies of mine from Mooseman.
Did you see that? Terrell Hatton just missed a 1.5 putt, and now he's sitting 5 feet away.
Oh, so he's putting like me. Good to see.
How many players did you have to take?
I can't remember. A lot. Then we dropped the highest 5 scores.
Highest 5 scores?
Yeah.
And it was like a snake draft, or you could take anybody?
You could take anybody.
Oh.
But yeah, Sporanic at the disco is not doing well.
How invested will you be?
Usually in golf, I'm not that invested, but the Masters, especially on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, I have to tune in. And right now, looking at Corey Connors only sitting 2 shots back going into the weekend, that's what I'm watching. That'll be a big thing with, for Canadians. If you don't know out there, Corey Connors is Canadian. And like Alex said, he's sitting 2 back. Jordan Spieth just made a birdie. What was the cut? Plus 2?
Plus 2 is the cut.
Yeah, so Jordan Spieth is just on the cut line. Here's Scheffler. He's in the pine straw and in the bush. Old man Marley's still there though, so he's not quite ready to hit. Looks like he's just going to punch. I don't know why he's taking 30 minutes for a punch out shot. If I know punch out shots, it shouldn't take that long. And then on the weekend, weather looks good though. That's the other thing. Here it is. We'll kind of give you a play-by-play of this shot. You're going to be seeing it later. He's over in the bushes. No, now he's going to back away.
Yeah, over in the bushes. They're trying to make a shot.
Yes, very much so. Toronto Blue Jays rained out. Rain delay or rained out? People that are ready to watch the Jays take on the Baltimore Orioles. It was supposed to be the first of a 3-banger in Baltimore. Postponed. They lost to Boston yesterday. You guys big Jays fans, big baseball fans?
Did you see the egregious calls from the umpire in that game?
That
Probably
is one of the worst umpires performances I've seen this year.
Even Angel Hernandez was like, whoa, that's pretty bad umpiring. 14 blown calls against the Jays. There was a montage I saw on social media that was all 14 calls, and they lose by 1 run in extras.
And he was just as egregious against the Sox. It was a bad called game. Like, he's making a point for robotic umpires.
Ooh. Scheffler just punched out exactly where we thought he would, and he took 30 minutes to do that shot. It went about 30 yards. He's back in the fairway. Robotic umpires. Yeah. I watch a little bit of baseball, especially postseason baseball. Nothing better. But the whole 162 game grind. As you guys Blue Jays fans then?
Generally.
Did you like their logo? Is that why you picked it when you were a kid?
No. I was actually an Expos fan.
That's a sweet logo.
Still mad that they're not around.
Joe Carter.
Blue Jay fan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Carter was your guy?
Carter was my guy.
What about Vladdy? Like, is that a lot of dough? Like,
They had to make that move, because if not, it just looked like the team was just hemorrhaging both fan capital and players. Like, at some point they needed to draw a line in the sand going, this is where we're focusing this franchise. And they went out for Soto, couldn't get him. They went out last year trying to get big name free agents. They can't bring him in. They got to keep what they have.
He's their franchise guy. You have to pay him. I know it's a lot, 14 years, $500 million, but what else do you really have behind him to at least market the team too?
It's still better than the Vernon Adams deal. No, Vernon Adams, Vernon Wells.
Vernon Adams. Vernon Wells. It's just 14 years. And I guess they're at the mercy of what his agent and what he wanted. But like Arash said on the show, like those last 3-4 years of that contract, if he plays that long, that's not going to be a thing. Because I can't see him playing when he's 39 and 40 years old. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong for sure. So the Expos as what was it, 94? The year that they
the lockout year, when they were first place in the NL.
Who were their weapons that year? Moises
Alou,
Guerrero.
Was Pedro there?
Pedro was there.
Pedro was there.
Guerrero, no gloves. Remember that? Like, that was wild.
He was
like playing ghetto ball. It was like, what is this guy doing? Like, he's just smashing. Yeah.
I always liked Henry Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Whenever he hit a home run, they would throw Henry bars onto the field.
Yeah.
You ever been in that stadium?
Big O, no.
Grey Cup 2008.
Yeah. It was like the Metrodome in Minnesota. If there wasn't a big crowd in there, it just felt like like an empty, I don't even know what the right term is, but the Expos. And then there was, I don't know how many years ago was it, they were like, could they get him back at downtown stadium, and they had the backdrop of Montreal and all that. I'm like, well, yeah, that looks great. Montreal doesn't strike me as a big baseball city.
Not anymore, anyway.
Yeah.
Well, they were talking about the Rays doing part-time in Tampa and Montreal. And I think they were just primarily doing that, trying to get a stadium in Tampa, but I don't know what the answer is.
Are we're up against news, hey? Boys, you guys didn't give me the cook call. Everybody's just waiting for the Western Pizza, the number 2. Hour 3, we're going to have Benny Walchuk and an interview with Jarrod Williams of the champion Fort Knox Prairie Junior Hockey League champs. Also Berkly, Catton, and Al Millar. It is the Sports Cage on 620 CKRM. Welcome back. Yes, I do have a little bit of Western Pizza now. And boys, let's be honest, the number 2 from Western Pizza, the only thing that makes the number 2 from Western Pizza better, a beer. I don't know if it's the mushrooms mixed with the bacon and the pepperoni and the salts and how that, like, I'm dead serious.
No,
and the friends you share it with. Am I right, Barney?
Yes. I agree with Barney more than I agree with you.
That was Curtis on this Friday chiming in. He's rolling his man bun. Number 2, what if you had to order Western Pizza though? What's your go-to?
Number 2's that's the go-to. That is the go-to.
I'm an all-dressed guy. I need some pepper and onions on that thing.
I said pineapple.
Also pineapple.
All dressed with pineapple. You can even sprinkle in a little extra pineapple. And Western Pizza's all dressed. Spiro will tell you that is the most popular pizza, is the all dressed. The number 2, I think, runs a close second. Thanks to Spiro. We're going to go out in the Western Pizza guest hotline in a bit. We'll hear from Al Millar again, also Berkly Catton from the Spokane Chiefs, an interview we did on the Monday Nooner podcast. So we got a snippet for you if you want to listen to the full interview. He has some really cool stories about his younger days and his dad. we'll get to that in a bit. We started off the show by talking about, safe to say, the biggest news in Regina, possibly Saskatchewan today, was the Regina Pats winning the lottery.
Safe to say it's a big one, yeah.
The Al Millar interview will come up again. He doesn't want to go as far as saying Maddox Schultz is a Regina Pat.
I'm curious on what the backlash would be if they don't. Like, would people be like hair on fire? Why did you not draft Maddox Schultz?
They're like, you know, if I even think if someone, I don't even think teams are going to call to explore trading for that pick.
That's the thing, is if they decide, let's not go with Maddox Schultz, there's someone else we want to go with, at that point, trade that pick and get more.
Yeah. What people are going to think we are crushing beer while we're eating that number 2, talking like that. Like there would be, somebody could offer a brand new roof at the Brandt Center. 8 first-round picks.
And throw in one for the cooperators while you're at it.
Another one of those buildings out by the tracks that no one knows what's going on there. And they still wouldn't take it. It wouldn't happen. But Al wouldn't say Maddox is a guy. I think maybe they can't. You know, like the first call they make
Until
is
it's official.
to the kid and Dave and Mom Vicky and the family. But start printing. Torchy, get on the jerseys. Get, like we said earlier, what else are we making here? We're a big pajama pants city. Pajamas, sweats.
The buzz around the Connor Bedard draft was something when the Pats won that draft lottery.
And he's from Vancouver.
Yeah. This is a local kid. This is from right here.
Wore that jersey right there, that Regina Pat Blues jersey. You know,
the buzz around him is incredible.
Ponder this. Connor Bedard, and I'm just, before I start to sound like an absolute buffoon, which I've known to play that role a number of times. Connor Bedard didn't play in a league like the Saskatchewan Midget AAA League. Berkly Catton in this interview will talk about that. How the Saskatchewan U18 AAA League, Midget AAA League, is like a mini junior league. The travel, the playing against bigger, older kids, 3 years old. So at 15, I think Connor Bedard, and I'm looking at it here, played West Vancouver U18 prep. So he played in the school league thing. 84 points. I don't know where he ranked. Maddox Schultz, I think, if you would have put Connor Bedard in the league at 14, I would love, if there was like some sort of AI or weird video game thing that we could do to generate, okay, how would Bedard have done in that league this year compared to Maddox? I think from watching both really closely, I don't know how much you guys have watched, Bedard's release and shot was like next level at 16. Maddox's strength and his 200-foot game is better than Bedard's was at that age.
And I think that's where you're going to separate those two players. Bedard was more of the shooter precision guy, and Schultz is more of a two-way guy.
Have you watched him play?
I have not, unfortunately.
Yeah. He's just, for 14 against the 18-year-olds, it's really hard to like comprehend, and how he's not just out there playing third, fourth line. Like, he's starting games. He's the key moments he's on the ice. We're going to see it. I don't know. I was trying to find out, too. I was trying to ask some guys around the rink, Grandpa Lanigan, actually, on where the stream that we're going to be able to watch the AAA Nationals and watch the Pats C's. Like, he'll be in every big moment. And then next year, when he gets to play his 34 games, how does that look? Well, he's kind of played against, it's going to be faster, bigger, stronger, for sure, but he's played against this level of competition somewhat. And let's keep in mind, I think in the summers, like, he's not going to train at the hockey school where they have a kickball game in the back and everyone gets a box lunch. Like, he's training with pros. He's skating with pros, a lot like Bedard did, Connor McDavid did. His agent's taking him to these places to train. So yeah, and now Millar talks about they have 2 picks in the first round, and then 3 in the second. That's a lot.
I still, as he kind of discussed, I think you look at packaging some of those, especially maybe 2 of those second rounders, or the late first rounder with a second, try to get higher up in the first, get 2 1A players. But going back to our talk about marketing, if I'm the Pats, I'm doing a Schultz flex pack, like the games he's playing. Put out a 10 game pack, and have the people pick out of that. I think that's a way to move.
I wonder how in advance they will know, though, actually what games he'll play. There'll probably be a few. Be like, okay, circle this on the calendar. We're gonna, and then do they put him in that? Do they put him in the Agrodome every game they can, or do they? How many road games did they spring? Do they take him on a trip where they do like a Saskatoon, PA,
Moose Jaw?
You would think maybe around Agribition, if he's available when they're on their long road trip. Maybe that's the road trip you take him on.
What's in it for the Pats?
To take him on the road? Probably not much. And that's a good point. If you can have him in the Brand Center for all those games.
Yeah, I think they're smart enough marketing people that say, no, we're gonna, and then we started, people that are listening now didn't catch us at the beginning of the show. I'm like, everyone's talking about, we got a bunch of text messages on the Prairie Land Rentals text line, and okay, when are tickets gonna go up on our social media? Now they're gonna gouge, and now they're gonna put tickets up and all that. What if they go the other way? What if they make those bronze seats, those back end seats? I said, hey, he's a 2010 kid. Tuesday, Wednesday game, put him in the barn, sell all those back tickets for $20.10. Something like that. Just pack it. And not only, let's be honest, if we're there and we're any of those kids, you want to play in front of a big barn. You don't want to play in front of 1,200 people in a 7,000 seat stadium. So the spill off to the other kids and the excitement and all that, I think you can't put a price tag on that, but it would be a Maddox Schultz kind of package of some sort. He is going to be pulled so many directions over the next 3 years. Like we joked with, clients and of the Pats, and right now, great kid. He's, okay, we gotta go to this school. Okay, we gotta go to this. You got to go take a picture here. We need you to come into the radio station and voice this. And then this is like, when does he get his license, and how fast is he in an F-150 from Bennett Dunlop Ford? Because I'm sure that's on the. That's a re-up. That's a marketing. That's a tool for them, right?
But that's the same thing that Connor Bedard did when he was here. He was around doing the media tours. He was everywhere, and you find out a lot about the player as a person to do that, because yes, they're very, very good at hockey, but how are you off ice, right? If you can continue to be great at hockey and still do all this stuff on the side, when some days you probably don't want to do it.
And let's be honest, that's where the real dollars and cents are made when it comes to a player's career. You can be good at putting a puck in the net, but if no one wants to deal with you because you can't handle the extracurricular stuff that comes with it, no one wants to deal with you.
I've been lucky enough to interview both. So Maddox was 14, I think Connor was 17. Maddox is just starting the whole journey, but a very personable kid. Dad was here, Dave, great guy. Mom's fantastic as well. Bedard was very robotic and calculated.
Hockey was and is Connor Bedard's life. I was able to talk to him too, and it was just like, what do you do outside of hockey? Nothing. I just play hockey. I just play hockey. Obviously, that's why he's so good. but that's kind of what there is to them.
And let's be honest, hockey is one of the most non-personality based sports there is. Like you get the same canned answers, 110% up and down the half wall, blah blah blah. Like you don't have your too many brash guys, and the ones that are brash are now commentators on Hockey Night, it seems.
Yeah, like there's only so many Jeremy Roenick's.
Yeah.
Right? Just lost Greg Millen. Like Greg Millen, he came across like that gruff, like angry, which he wasn't. He just loved the game. Darren Pang, great guy. We had him on here as well. Yeah. So, who's your favorite? Who's your favorite like NHL commentator, color guy, panel guy out there right now?
Woof.
Right now, I actually really like Kevin Bieksa.
I was going to say Bieksa too.
But you know what? I'll go one further. You can have Bieksa. I'll go with this one. Colby Armstrong.
Also good.
Colbs. Good Sasky. Good Sasky gentleman. Yeah, no, so there's so many things that are going to happen for that young man, and yeah, the Pats will announce it at some point, and you know, I think I forget who said it, they'd probably make some big event for sure.
Well, and the nice thing about it is the Pats just went through this a few years ago with Bedard, so maybe they've learned what can they do differently to maybe make it easier on Maddox.
Great point.
So maybe it won't be as difficult this time around.
Staying on the hockey front, it was a huge night for the Fort Knox franchise. Fort Capel last night was they're maybe still partying there. Send us some pictures. 936-6262. Maybe the Squire is just packed to the hilt right now. They won their first ever championship over the Saskatoon Wesleys. Earlier this morning, our Benny Walchuk caught up with general manager of Fort Knox, Jarrod Williams.
I just joined now with Knox general manager Jarrod Williams after they captured their first ever PJHL title just last night. I guess, Jarrod, congratulations. What is it like to finally get the job done?
Hey, Benny, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. As a player's goal, right from basically our awards banquet last year, that was, the goal everyone set, and what we worked for all year, and obviously it's unbelievable to get the job done, especially on home ice.
Yeah, what does this mean to the organization and just the town of Fort Capel to win a title and bring it back home?
Well, 29 years of never even being in the league final, provincial final. So it was talked about nonstop throughout the community. There's people at the rink that I hadn't seen at the rink in years. So we definitely felt the support. We had the 2 fan buses going to Saskatoon. So yeah, it was awesome. And I know the players appreciated the support and felt the support all the way through.
I know for you, I know your family's been involved in the organization for a long time with your dad Jim running things from on time until he passed the torch to you. I guess for yourself to be involved and win it all, what does it mean for yourself?
For me, it's just a big time relief. Can't even describe the emotions or the feelings, but yeah, it's been, like I said before, it's been a long time coming, and for a guy like my dad who's been involved since day one, started the team, can't begin to imagine what he was feeling last night when you see the celebration on the ice and all that stuff. So although as you say, the torch might have been passed, he's still very involved and a big part of the organization, and I know it would have meant the world to him too. So
I know on the ice, I guess, what was key to success not only on this championship series but just the entire season in general?
We had a really, really great group of guys in that dressing room, good leadership, and I think what we got more or less all season, sure you might have a little hiccup here or there, but for the better part of the season, we just had guys buy into roles. And in playoffs, obviously, that's critical. That's huge. We were able to play pretty much 4 lines and all 60 right through. And both goalies had a shot at the net. Both played unbelievable. So, we just got buy-in from every guy. And
you mentioned both netminders. Not very often where the MVP or the top goalie in the league has to maybe sit aside to watch it. It's a series clinching game, but talk about Jackson and Zane and their relationship and just how lucky you guys would have two exceptional netminders.
Well, both those guys, we had, in my opinion, we had, not just Zane Winter, the best goalie in the league. We had two of the best goalies in the league, and that's pretty rare. And obviously Zane Winter more than wanted the net in game 6. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but Jackson Millar in the games that he played, the opportunities that he had in playoffs, he was absolutely lights out. We thought he played really well in games 4 and 5, and it was kind of, here you go, get it done, and kid gets a shutout for, second time, two big shutouts, like unbelievable. You can't script it or write it any better than that. It's crazy.
Awesome, Jarrod. Once again, congratulations on the win, and a long time coming for you and the organization, and enjoy the celebration.
Thanks a lot, Benny. Appreciate it.
Good stuff out in Fort Capel yesterday that's whatever. Let's just go to break. We'll come back. We'll chat. We got Berkly Catton standing by. It's a SportsCage on 620 CKRM. Congrats to Fort Knox. We heard General Manager Jarrod Williams earlier. SJHL, and we had the SJHL report. We talked to Trevor Blevins, head coach of the Melfort Mustangs. You can go back and listen to that in podcast form. It is Weyburn and Flin Flon tomorrow night. Game 5 at the Whitney Forum. Our SJHL reports are always for Southie, Mainline Chrysler, new king of trucks, worth a drive every time. WHL. Are you guys watching this? If the Pats aren't in, are you meh?
Well, like I told you, I was raised a Wheat Kings fan, so I'm still out of it regardless.
How about Alex?
If the Pats aren't in the playoffs, my interest level goes down a little bit.
It's PA Medicine Hat starting tomorrow. There was a video of PA being led out of Prince Albert, hold the jokes, with a police escort as they left to Medicine Hat today. That series is really interesting. I talked to somebody from PA today. They're in town, and they said, "Well, they might lose, but I don't know how good a shape McKenna will be in for the next round." It's like PA is just going to try and run him through the boards, which, yeah, he's the best player.
Oh yeah, I would do it. That's the way to do it. And Medicine Hat, that was a good team.
Molendyke,
it was ridiculously good.
Yeah, and so that starts tomorrow. Also, Portland Everett will start Saturday. If you missed it, Lethbridge Calgary game 1 yesterday. Moose Jaw Warrior fans, it was Jackson Unger. 33 saves for the shutout win. So they're up 1-0 obviously on Calgary, and I think they go back at her tomorrow, 6 p.m. in Calgary. So a day off, a day break. That's your Western Hockey League report for extreme hockey and sport. Blue Jays were rained out today. No idea what Colin Lovequist would have done now, late afternoon into this evening. Huge Blue Jay fan. Rained out in Baltimore. Double IHF Women's World Hockey Championship. Canada's off to a 2-0 start there. They haven't allowed a goal. They shut out the Finns 5-0 yesterday, and then today 4-0 against the Swiss. Emily Clark from Saskatoon on that team. So we got about a minute left. How did it go today?
Yeah, it was like a Piffles podcast with a better looking Steve, I guess.
Maybe that's the new replacement Steve.
Jeff Fairholm. Well, he's got to fight Jeff Fairholm behind an alley somewhere for that.
We had Spiro dropped off Western Pizza.
Okay.
It's been a pretty good day.
Yeah,
pretty good day. We had a beer sponsor. Got a beer brought in. But yeah, we're gonna throw here to an interview, like I said earlier, that we did with Berkly Catton from the Spokane Chiefs. We did it on the Monday Nooner podcast. You can go listen to the full thing there. Great kid, obviously drafted last year to Seattle. He had a 7-point night last week in the Western Hockey League playoffs. That's where I start our conversation with Berkly.
You know, you guys are smack dab in the middle of playoffs here. A nice little break, I guess, for Spokane after winning round one. Brandon and I are talking. I'm sure a lot of people are talking about there. Let's talk about the 7-point night, because I don't even know if Brandon and I, maybe your dad, have even had 7-point nights in the Adult Safe League. What was that? Just a special night? Take us through that night.
Yeah, it was one of those weird nights. I feel like kind of to end the year too, I was on a little bit of like a dry spell and like stuff just wasn't going in. And it was getting kind of annoying. And then, I feel like the game before I had a pretty good game, and then that one just everything seemed to fall into the net. And even like I had like 4 secondary assists, I think. So it was just one of those nights, So that one felt good though.
I think I had one on a Friday noon hour skate against a bunch of retired firefighters. So I know what it feels like. Do you remember any like nights like that growing up, or like maybe more than 7 points? Like what stands out from maybe minor hockey days or anything like that?
Yeah, I feel like in midget, there wasn't really, even the past couple years at junior, not even like tournaments or anything. But then like, I feel like that bantam year when with the Bandits there and I had like 110 or 108 or something, remember I had like an 11 or 12 point night one night. That's probably the best night I've ever had, but not in a while. There hasn't been anything like that.
Andrew Crystal, you guys get him, after the trade deadline, and there was a lot of trades going on, typical of the Western Hockey League. Did you have any kind of inkling that was going to happen? And then what are your reactions once you get him?
Yeah, well, I think like he kind of knew he was getting traded once the Memorial Cup bid went in and Kelowna got it. And we were at the World Junior Camp together, like before the actual tournament. And I was talking like, hey, you got to come to Spoke. And he was like, yeah, that'd be great. And, it all kind of worked out good. And I think, our second game in, it was another 7-point night. I've never had a 7-point night like in the past 4 years. So he came on my line. So he's probably a helper of that. But no, it's been great ever since he's been here.
A lot of people are saying, well, they got these two guys and they're putting up a ton of points, and it's kind of like two-headed monster, hard to keep intact. That's maybe for people out east, like in Sasky and all that. Like, what's the makeup of the Spokane team? Because we don't get to watch it all that much.
Yeah, I think our depth kind of goes underrated. Like, we got 4 solid lines that can play, and like I feel like our second or third line taking the hard minutes maybe against the first line of other teams and their best defensemen, and we get to go and kind of just play, like that kind of goes underappreciated, I think, a little bit. So that makes our life easier. But yeah, we're a super deep team. I feel like that kind of goes under the radar. So yeah, we got some good star players and stuff, but our depth is really great and helping us allow us to win that first series and ultimately throughout the whole year, I think.
You guys got Victoria coming up this weekend for the second round. What do you know about those guys? Obviously, you've played them a lot. What's that matchup going to be like?
Yeah, I think they're a similar team to us. Like to play a fast, skilled game. I think another Sasky boy there, Reshty. He's a great player, and they have lots of guys like that. I think we kind of match up well in that sense. It's going to be a skilled, a skilled series, I think. But yeah, it'll be a good matchup. I think we fared out pretty well against them the whole year. So yeah, I think there's going to be lots of skill and ultimately it's maybe the skill showed throughout the regular season, but it'll be more of a defensive showing now to see who kind of comes out on top, I think.
What's it like playing in Spoke? And you've been there now a few years. What's it like?
Yeah, it's a whole different thing than in Saskatoon. I feel like I obviously went to Blades games my whole life growing up. And, I remember the Blades being down by a couple going into the third, and my dad yanked me out of the rink saying there's no point watching the third period. And here it's a little different. Like, I remember not so much this year, but last year we were down by like 10 goals one time against Moose Jaw. And I scored on the power play with like 3 minutes left, and you would have thought we won the Stanley Cup. Like, it's just a different atmosphere. So I feel like that part's really cool. And like all these American arenas you go into, like a Friday night, like in Everett or Seattle, like it's going to be jammed. And there's people yelling and there's chants going on. So it's a different atmosphere. I feel like it's almost like there's a party going on in the rink more than anything. It seems like lots of the time, but it's a lot of fun.
Is the team like big there in the community? And now that you guys were into playoffs, and do you like get recognized a lot when you're going out?
No, not at all. That's the one thing. I remember one time I went to this coffee place by my house, and they're like, oh, something of the Chiefs got brought up. I was like, yeah, I play for the Chiefs. And she's like, oh, like, do you have a family down here and stuff? Like, I'm like, no, I'm 18. So they think we're like 40. Like they don't know like the levels or anything. So that part's kind of cool. Like, I feel like if I have my jersey on though, maybe recognize me sometimes, but without a helmet on or anything, it's never getting recognized.
The NHL draft. We always ask guys about that. That was this last year, I guess. That was in Vegas?
Yeah, it was.
Take us through that experience. Any cool draft stories, any draft moments? How much did you know going into that?
Yeah, like the WHL draft was one thing because I kind of knew what was happening, but like the NHL draft's a whole different thing. Like other than Max Celebrini, no one really knew what was happening, and so went there, and like obviously the combine, you do all your draft questions and stuff, and still you don't really have any idea. Then you kind of go there and you're on the floor, and like it's just like you can't really do anything. Like your season's done, you're just kind of sitting there waiting to get picked, and it's a really weird feeling. But once you get picked, it's one of the coolest things ever. So,
did you have a good inkling that Seattle, like you were on their radar, or
not really? I kind of thought Calgary was like, I think they were pretty interested. But Seattle, like we had a really good talk and stuff, but there was lots of talk about them taking a D-man. Like that's kind of was what the rumor was. So I was like kind of laid back in my seat a little bit, honestly, when they were picking, and lucky enough they picked me, and they've been great, and all the camps and stuff have been so fun. So couldn't be happier.
What did you get? They talk about those interviews and stuff. Any weird questions from any of the team?
Yeah, pretty funny one actually. With Montreal, they make you fill these questionnaires beforehand, and I was like watching all these Roman like gladiator history movies, and I was like really interested at the time for some reason. So on the questionnaire I put, I love history. I love Roman history. And I get there and this person's asking me questions, and he's like asking me about all the emperors of Rome, and I am just clueless what he's talking about. So that was so embarrassing. And then that was one that I was pretty embarrassed about. So
what do you think about Maddox Schultz?
Oh, that kid's impressive. Like stuff I've been seeing about him, it's actually unbelievable. It's Saskatchewan kid, just absolutely. That's a hard league too. Like I always tell all the guys here, like that is not an easy league. I say it's the best in Canada. So it's like a miniature junior league, it feels like, and maybe not the easiest travel, and you're playing against guys 2 years older, 3 years older with him, and that's a big age gap at that point. There's lots of different maturity and stuff, but to see how well he's doing, it's rooting for him, and it's really impressive.
When is the first time that you play up a division? Is that bantam? Maybe it was even spring hockey, but spring hockey and organized hockey wise, when did you play up?
I think it would have been. I remember playing when I was in like initiation, even like my dad would have me, like I was playing with like the novice kids. I remember, and then whenever it was my second year, I'd always try and play up. I remember. And then the 1 year I didn't get it to move up. So like there's like the zones, obviously, like the Red Wing zone, the Flyer zone. I was playing in like the Bobcat zone somehow. I don't know how my dad got that to happen, but I moved up and I was playing in a whole different place I wasn't even supposed to. But I always played up, and I feel like that helped me out a lot, just playing against bigger guys, and you had to think the game a little bit more than you would against your own age.
Like I said, if you want to listen to that full interview, you can download it at the Monday Noon or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. Berkely's having a heck of a season. They're into round 2 starting on Sunday. We are going to rerun the Alan Millar, GM of the Regina Pats, interview that we did earlier in hour 1. Okay, so closing arguments. First off, your first time, Alex. How was it?
It was good. It was nice to be invited finally. I know you've been picking Greg all the time, so it's nice to join the party.
Well, you lead with strength. That's why.
That's why Steve's not here.
Speed. I thought we led with speed.
I'm not speed. Well, look at this build. I'm not speed.
But like, it was funny because the last time he was on, we were doing the whole, which we can do again at some point, the who would sell out Mosaic Stadium.
Oh, I was listening that day.
Yeah, and you were texting him like crazy, and I'm like, well, would Alex ever want to come on? Let's just bring him on. It'll be great. Thanks again for coming by.
I always love it.
Yeah, and you're in cheer kind of off season right now for a week.
Hiatus for it seems like an hour, then we're back into it.
Right back into her. Yeah, thanks, Curtis and Colson. Another week. You guys got Maz all next week doing the other job thing. So Maz will be in. And don't forget, if you missed it in hour one, we're going to come back with general manager of the Regina Pats, Al Millar, talking about the chance to get Maddox Schultz first overall in the WHL draft. Thank you very much. Talk to you again in a week.